So next slide, there's ecosystem. As I'm saying time to time that you must be hearing that I'm using this word ecosystem time to time. It is basically, we are speaking mostly on the ecosystem of innovation, but still, ecosystem is the collective whole of all the channels, all the services, your touch points, your interactions, whatever you have designed and defined for interacting with the customers for their better experiences. An opportunity space like an area of your service or business in which you want to focus mostly, like on onboarding of the customers or customer relationships or help and support. It is up to you. It is the opportunity space for you as per the SWOT: strength, weakness, opportunity, strength, that you have made this opportunity space specifically. And the scenario means a use case, because as I said, the storytelling, so a use case that plays out over time, and it is involving your customer experience, which is combined with organizational backstage processes. So this scenario is also part of the design thinking. And actors, so who are the actors, who are the users who are associated with the services, including stakeholders, your front stage and backstage users. So these are all the actors. So these actors also need to be defined very clearly and prominently in your design thinking activities as a concept. So next slide. So it is a current experience mapping, which I want to show that if I say for a like a legacy or earlier system, which I already have informed that if I go like step by step processes like linear activities. So in case of design thinking, the things are much faster and much better because it is a non-linear experience. So in the chart, you can see like if you see the whole things are like moving in a step by step processes, but design thinking activities can lead to you can have a better understanding, like one step can be moved and parallelly you can move with another steps, parallelly we can move with a third step, so all three four steps can move at a time. So which will have a better understanding of the problems, because the feedback will start coming very instantaneously, and you don't have to wait for that particular process to complete to get the feedback. And that's the reason your cycle is getting shorter for reaching the solution to the specified problem. Next slide. So next slide basically is like how I'm going to write a problem statement. So how might we, that is called HMW. So how might we is where the situation comes when you are going to have a definition of the problem statements across the number of n numbers, or you can say lots of problem statements. So in this case, what problems requires your solving or improvements for which the person is most affected, or you can have a design a better way for with a person is most affected to which what does the person needs to be able to do it. So it is basically we have to very clear that what is the specific problem. So that is the reason it's called HMW. How might we? So how might we is required in defining a problem statement during your iteration process of design thinking, like definition part, which I say, you should be very clearly understood that what why this problem has or single problem has been taken care of as a part of the design thinking, and how it can benefit the customer directly, not indirectly but directly. So in that particular case, that's this situation of how might we comes into position if you understand this particular question. So there are two ways to tackle this, like how might we, or we can we have a design a better way for it. Next slide. So conventional approach, as I said, it is insufficient because the innovation challenge, the stages of new product development process, if I say, so basically these are all stages like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the horizontal, and number of ideas in the vertical, like starting from 1 to 10,000. So what happens that innovation starts getting very cumbersome activities, because at the stage one there will be like 3,000 raw ideas, then you go to 300 ideas submitted, then it becomes 125 small projects, then slowly it becomes 9 early stage development, then 4 major development, then you can have a 1.7 launches out of these 3,000 ideas, and only one success. So this is a long process. These are long iterative processes. So which takes time, which needs time. So in that case, the design thinking is different. So design thinking, as Albert Einstein has rightly said, the problem that exists in the world today cannot be solved by the level of thinking that created them. So that the reason we should have a different way approach or different approach of solving it. So in case of organizational transformation, if they use design thinking, then they can walk in 2 stages, like phase 1 and phase 2. Like they can build a design culture, they can have a experience of design thinking, and in phase two, they can use this design thinking to solve organizational problems. So for this, you need to have a seeding, a co-creation, innovation, design-driven culture mindset within the organization. So without this design thinking approach, particularly in corporations or industries, cannot happen unless and until we have this the using of the like as I said, interdisciplinary teams and innovations and design-driven culture, the mindset of how to solve the problems of the customers in mind. That is the empathetic, or you can say empathy. Empathy without empathy, the design thinking doesn't work. So in this particular transformation roadmap, as I said, first you have to imbibe the design thinking. We have to build the design culture. So how to build a design culture? Because this will help in the organizations to identify the right participants. So who will be actually the right participants in the workshop, so that they can have a co-creating training packages, including videos, exercise. They need to have a right presence, digital presence to be created inside and outside the organizations. You can have a multiple training programs with that we created on fundamentals of design thinking, and obviously, report will be post completion of these changes or level of progress of learning in batches. Because as I said, design thinking acts in batches, and mentoring and coaching internal teams to run a pilot for applying design thinking in their particular areas. And they have to develop the design champions so that the idea can be converted to actions. For this, the organizations need to identify the design champions. They have to develop a custom programs for themselves, for the organization, for the champions, so that they can develop the creative confidence, positivity. They direct consult with the lead trainers or doing the pilot projects is very much required. They can have a post-training office offline facilitation with the lead trainers, and a single report needs to be there about the innovation champions progress post completion of the trainings, and this can provide the real-time case studies and reading materials for the references. Why I'm showing this, because the organization needs to understand that design thinking, if they need to implement some basics criteria are required, so that you can have very common understanding, common innovative thinking across the team members of the cross functional team. Now in third next slide, and how we will be solving these organizational problems in design thinking way. So that is also important because you need to have consulting experts. Unlike innovation, like in innovation centers, we have consulting experts. So similarly, the industries now need to have some consulting experts, maybe hired, maybe employed, with empathizing and immersing in the client environment, so that they can help understand the organization challenges and derive the exact problems statement, so that exact solutions or proper solutions can be created. And design thinking we use as a methodology to come up with the desirable solutions to the problems, which can be guided by QA experts or quality experts, which as per the standards or industry standards. And finally, the pre and post scenario assessment is required very much for the impact analysis, so that next time when you go for the next problem statement, this impact analysis will take care of or will help you not to reinvent the solution statement and wasting your time. Next slide. So this is the organizational transformation, so that we can have a specific problem solved. So we have to first find out, which we call define. Then we have to create some digital prototyping in the industry context. Then we have to map to create an implementation journey, customer roadmap, and how the customer will touch base your product and services and get the experiences, and how you're going to deliver it, because you need to have an implementation roadmap. And finally, the realization, that is the value realization, whether you are having a value realization or not in solving this particular problem related to the customer experiences. Next slide. So these are some of the factors and some of the success areas. So design thinking based transformation, when we take care of this in industry or education institution or any services, then there are some of the critical success factors are like you can have these critical success factors like cross-functional coverage of participants. These are the factors which is very critical for success. Then identifying the use cases for pilots and introducing the boot camps and quality. And then you have a quarterly sense check with the sponsors. Then you have to have these factors understood first, because critical like showcasing your pilot journey with various business unit heads. And success areas is that so as to make pilots more effective and increase. If you have more number of participants, then your pilots should have more effective. You can increase the coverage area. If you're using this, identifying the use cases of pilots, then obviously without pilots, the learning of will remain theoretical. If you have the quarterly sense check with the sponsors, then obviously the success area is that you can have the executive sponsorship help to increase the importance of the initiatives. And if you showcase the pilot journey with your business unit head, then obviously it will help because the success of the initiative will spur more innovations and also lead to broader acceptance within the organization by the people.